Who has the weirdest Xmas story?
I remember one time as a kid waking up in the middle of the night, and it wasn't Christmas like morning or Christmas Eve, but it was very close to Christmas. And like, woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like scared or whatever. You know, this was a couple years ago. No, I was like real young. Woke up in the middle of the night, got scared, ran to my parents' room. They were outside shoveling snow, and so they weren't in their beds. And I ran out into the living room, and we had a little TV room that was like a porch thing, and there was like an old school stereo in there, and when it was turned off on standby, it would do all the little sound waves on the front of the screen. Well, all the sound waves were like reflecting on the wall, so there was these green waving lights on the wall.
They're still here.
And then I ran over to the basement steps to go find my brothers, but the fireplace was on downstairs, and so there was orange waving lights flickering all over the wall. And then I heard outside the sound of my parents shoveling, which was...
What is up, everybody? Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, or Happy Christmas. We're going to find out. Welcome to our lighthearted holiday question and answer sesh, Jim. We solicited these questions from the viewers.
Yeah.
We did a little thing. I was like, are we going to get questions? We got a lot of questions here. I got them right here.
We got more than I think we can actually handle.
Yeah, pages and pages. I've highlighted a lot of them that can be answered, I'd say, relatively quickly.
Okay.
I think 47 to be exact. Buckle up. Hopefully we get to them all. I think we can. We'll get close.
Let's do that then.
If you don't hear yours, I'd say there's a decent chance.
We don't like you.
What? A decent to good chance that it's actually just a good podcast topic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was good bait right there.
That's more like it.
If you don't, we'll get to it later.
So you may have question one. We're going to do these out of order because this one fit the intro, Jim.
He did that last time, too.
Yeah. Do you have a means for marking off the ones? Do you have the means for marking off the ones you've already asked?
I'd need some sort of pen or
one back
pencil.
there.
That's just far. I've tried to reach that spot before, and
we should probably put something.
Thank you so much, MC Ryan.
And there he goes. So question one. This one comes from Joel _unbound. Happy Christmas or Merry Christmas. Jim, pretty consistently you throw out some Happy Christmases.
Maybe that's because I watch a lot of British TV.
Is that what they say?
I think so.
Maybe we've covered this before. Okay, Ryan, what do you say?
Here again, it depends on what side of the Atlantic I'm on.
How often are you on the other side?
Very infrequently.
What about the Pacific?
Do you know? I don't know. I've never been on that side. What do they say over there?
I'd say
what side of the Atlantic is
between the two? You're going to say Merry Christmas.
At what point,
I've lived on the Pacific.
At what point are you referring to your place in the world based on the Atlantic or the Pacific? Where's that?
I can already tell that 47 is going to be a lot tougher than I thought.
The answer is to all my friends and colleagues in the UK and Europe, mostly the UK. They say Happy Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a Happy Christmas the other day from a gent in Scotland.
I wonder where...
they drive on the other side of the road, though. They probably say Merry Birthday.
I wonder where Joel's from.
Never thought of
where
that.
Joel's from. Joel, let us know. Shoot us a comment. Let us know where you're from. What do you say? All right, going back. And I didn't even mark it off.
Sure. Oh, no. Okay. Well.
I noticed that they're back and front, too.
Double-sided printing.
Oh, yeah, we're getting lost today, boys.
Yeah, Catherine did that. I've already filed my official complaint.
Mark them off when you...
I will.
Your name is Mark.
Remember MapQuest? When you Control-P'd your directions?
Oh, yeah. And then inevitably, like, it would get cut off at the end of one page, so it would be like, turn right at, and then you'd be like, oh, next page, next page.
The first time I drove to Wisconsin, I had to use MapQuest.
Yeah.
And, my directions, and it was, like, crazy foggy.
Ended up in
It
Florida.
was a fog storm. No, I made it.
And then back to Amarillo.
I can't imagine, Mark.
It was...
Showed up 6 days
intense.
late.
It was intense.
In a new vehicle.
Looking like Tom Hanks from Castaway.
All right. Question number 2. I'm not even going to say 2. I'll number them through number 2. Ryan, directed towards you. Can Ryan do more reloading content in-depth, step-by-step tips and tricks.
Yes.
And also, okay, continue.
Here's why. Mark got a new gun. Mark got a new gun, everybody.
Well, and look what I've brought, Ryan.
And Mark brought us bullets for his new gun.
Ooh.
Ryan, these are Barnes.
Yeah. Got him, people. We got him.
.308 diameter. These are the 175
That'll
grain
never work in your 300.
LRX. Have you heard of Barnes
Yeah, it's
before?
too bad you got a 300, idiot.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with
Can
the
I-
300.
Can I just
No, it's
can
a
I drop the
joke
teaser?
because you said .308.
Oh, gotcha.
Can I drop this teaser?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mark got a new gun. This took years to sort out.
But the other one was working.
No, my friend. No. Nobody sees behind the curtain what happens. And here's the long and short of it. Mark is one of my favorite people. He's one of my favorite hunters. I love everything he does. He subjects himself to an unreasonable amount of anxiety every hunting season by trying something new.
But I also learn a lot by trying new things.
The definition of insanity.
One thing that I've learned is to get a good, accurate gun and then just shoot that one, which is a lot of what I've done with my other 300.
The point is, Mark finally got a fantastic rifle. It's a Tikka. Got a chambered in 300 Winchester short magnum, Wisdom, for all you folks down south. And
I hate that.
I know. And the big crux here was factory ammunition. I said, stop. I said, please, God, stop. I said, what's going to happen is we're going to load you 200 rounds, a lifetime supply of the best, most premium hunting ammunition you could ever ask for. Period. And then you're done. I'll even get you boxes that say, I'll have special graphics on it. Mark's
load.
There it is. And it's going to be loaded with 175 grain Barnes LRX on top of a stout charge of H4831 shortcut.
Because we know Mark can handle it.
That's right.
He's been handling it.
Really excited to do so. To answer your question, the long version, yes, we're gonna do some reloading. We're gonna load these Barnes bullets in the old 300. We have just a basket of 300 Wisdom brass
it's
over there.
literally a basket.
So that'll be fun. That's gonna be great. I'm excited to see how it
check
goes.
that one out.
Oh yeah, I'll check that out.
That same question is on the other page. Flip it over.
Okay. Here's what I'd say though. I'm also excited
Right there.
that
He checked the wrong thing off.
oh yeah, I did, didn't I?
We've been recording for 7 minutes. Oh, it's lighthearted.
So this is why I don't check things off. You're getting things all confused. So the short answer, yes, very exciting. The other thing that I find exciting out of that rifle right now is it shot those 190 ABLRs fantastic.
Which, you know what, I looked at as a hiccup in the process, because then that gave you ammo, no pun intended, to be like, we don't need to load. I'll just shoot this ammo forever.
Hey, number one, it's good to have options,
Great.
right?
Now you have the right option.
Well, but didn't he have maybe an experience of missing with that ammo? So maybe we can throw that at him.
That's
and be like,
true.
No, there's a reason to reload.
That was a me issue, guaranteed.
I don't know.
Guaranteed.
Could have been the ammo. Could
no.
have been chicken.
Could have been chicken. Oh my God. You got me. This one's directed towards me. Should I read it?
Yeah. No, like Ryan
It's
should.
the second one.
Oh,
It's,
here,
it's
I'll,
under
I'll
the,
read this one
It's under
for
the
you.
check mark, Jim.
The second one? Oh, okay. At Jaw 1489, maybe a birth year, 300 Wisdom. 300 Wisdom gets removed from the shelves. What does Mark pick up for his next hunt? Oh, I already know that.
Gasp.
Gasp.
This I do not want to picture this world, this horrible world. 300 Win Meg.
Really?
Yeah.
For your next hunt, huh?
Yuck.
I thought it was just going to be 6.5 Creedmoor. You love the 6.5 Creed.
That's true.
I do.
But
But Again, I'm thinking more just extreme versatility. Like,
All right.
That's my do all. Hey, you want to come here, do this? Yep, I can do it with that gun.
It's fair.
So
It's fair.
Ryan, I'm gonna go. Well, maybe you and Jim on this one. Thoughts? At Matt Gudu.
Could be a birth
Thoughts
year.
on the 284 Winchester?
That's a lead balloon, but it's not founded. I think the reason that the 284 Winchester never achieved the status it deserves is because it was released in a goofy rifle.
Which one was that?
It was a Winchester semi-automatic.
Oh.
Yeah. What should have happened is that gun should have been released in like a Remington 700 or a Winchester Model 70 or something along those lines. That was a bolt gun that touted and exploited the advantage that the case provided. So it's a really novel case. It's like a short mag. It's very square case, very modern design, rebated rim. It's got all the accoutrement of a spaceship, and came out in a semi-automatic carbine.
Yeah, that seems goofy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And you know what was interesting? I was doing some ballistic studies last night on a cartridge called 7 Saw. I'm looking for anybody who has load data for 145 grain Barnes LRX out of a 22-inch barrel. Not that I'm foreshadowing or anything like that, but and a lot of gents were chatting about straight 284, just straight 284.
Interesting.
Basically a 280 Remington in a shorter square case with a rebated rim. So 30-06 internal capacity. Shorter case, really quite a svelte cartridge, and the parent case for the very famous 6.5 by 284, as well as a loose parent case, step parent case to the 6.5 and 338 Weatherby RPM.
Okay. I don't know if I have this one highlighted down the road. I remember it, so okay. We'll try and maybe give some comment credit here later. Person also asked, a different person, 6.5 284 lead balloon.
Yeah. Yep.
Good cartridge, though.
Very.
Yeah. Jim, I'll
Sure.
let you, you can ask this.
This is one for you?
It's for the group. But
This is, wow, at Mikko Vilponen. I'm sorry if I butchered that. But I'm guessing, based on the question, that it's from a European country. Have any of you hunted in Northern Europe? I have not.
Ryan, I'm going to answer that with a question. Is that an invitation?
Yeah, you got a spot? That would be very cool. Have any of us ever been to Northern Europe? I would have to imagine. What do we consider Northern Europe?
When I think of Northern Europe, I think of
Scandinavia
yes,
included
right.
in Northern Europe?
I think of Finland and
Right.
yeah.
How do you, because with,
That's pretty north.
yeah.
And
But it's called Scandinavia. Is it Europe also?
Yeah.
I guess like Germany is called like Bavaria too, or
Yeah.
something like that. So
That's
that
what
would be real. I've never been. I've been. My wife has been.
I've been very
She says-
curious about Sweden, Finland,
Norway.
Norway.
My people are from Norway. If anybody's listening in Mundal, Norway.
How's your
My people
huh?
are from Sweden.
Nice.
I'm half Swede, Ryan.
I didn't realize
50%.
I was so surrounded.
Yeah.
What do you got going on, Jim? Do you know?
I represent basically all of the islands around the UK. I don't actually know what to call them collectively. England, Scotland,
You're just
Ireland.
an island boy.
Oh, yeah, island boy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
There you have it. The OG.
Follow up, similar. When can we expect a pod venture up to Canada? We need some Canadian podcasts. If you could hunt one animal in Canada, what would it be? Number one, same answer with a question.
Yeah.
Is that an invitation?
Yep.
That comes from WRG.outdoors.
Okay.
Sounds very outdoorsy. Ryan, now what's your number one animal in
That
Canada?
unquestionably would be the moose.
Yeah, it's got to be moose.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are many things that I want to hunt in Canada, but if it was just now's your opportunity.
Stone sheep's not on the list.
It is, but it's also, I was just having this conversation too with a gentleman. I saw a stone sheep package. I subscribe to a service that brokers some of my higher dollar tags.
Sure.
$75,000 US for a stone sheep. At the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers annual rendezvous that
sounds high
for several years was held in Missoula, Montana. We had a group of young folks that came from BC that would stop by the booth. They'd drive down. I mean, it was crazy. And we got talking, and I think between them they'd killed 9.
No.
And I was like, so what's that like? I'm like, oh, we just drive out there and like hike up the mountain and shoot one and butcher
I think there's a little bit more to it than that.
No, they made it sound like basically the equivalent of us going out and taking a nice fat whitetail.
No.
They weren't trying to like grind it into me, but they were definitely letting me know that it was something that was very attainable for them. And I chuckled. I know a fella, he was an old customer of mine, who has several stone sheep on his wall. And the last stone that he killed was in the 80s. And I went over to his place to see his trap collection and his taxidermy collection. He's got several doll, several stone, several mountain goats. He's got like dozens of different ducks. He has all the eiders, which you can't get anymore. But anyway, he's got this unbelievable stone ram on his wall. And I said, Kurt, do you know how much that costs? He's like, well, that was a really expensive hunt. He's like, I killed a stone and a mountain goat, and by the time I got done with like taxidermy and airfare, it was like $5,800. I'm like, that's stone sheep, and that at that time that was like 2007. I'm like, that's like $50,000. So stone sheep, I almost just say, yeah, it'd be cool to do it, but I don't know.
I'll tell you why it'd be moose for me, because probably in large part due to, well, I think it'd be really cool. But also, I imagine trying to explain to many of my extended family members who like to ask many questions about the adventures that I go on, which are primarily on my wife's side, asking me what I went on a hunt for to Canada. And if I tried explaining stone sheep to them, they'd be very lost.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually they might conceptualize it. But if I said moose, it would just be no more questions.
Yep. And it's the largest cervid.
Right.
They're huge.
They're pretty neat.
Mark's going stone sheep.
You know what? Shockingly, I'm not. I'm going with mountain caribou.
Okay.
Cool.
Also pretty rad.
I think they're the coolest looking of the caribou.
And cooler than woodland?
Woodlands are pretty cool. I'm going still. I think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Woodlands are the blacktails of caribou.
Oh,
that's what I like about them.
They're so rad.
I've always dreamt of going, building some sort of a, I hate the term overland now because people just, it's a bunch of...
It's a lifestyle, Jim.
It's a bunch of city losers who just, anyway. Well, the ones on Instagram are. There are people who do it legit, but I'd want to build like a legit Canadian exploration vehicle and then just go like as far as roads will take you and then as far as not roads will take you.
Paul went on
really cool.
On a moose hunt with some guys, and you want to talk about overland, they had like monster truck type overland.
Oh, if you got one of those old,
I think half of them broke during the trip. I think it was kind of an
Well, if you got one of those old 70s Snowcats, it's got like a old like Chrysler motor in it, like, dude, that would be really cool to just go see how far you could go. There's one for sale on Facebook Marketplace locally, actually. It's got a full cab and everything.
Like a Bombardier?
Yeah, it's like articulated and stuff.
Ryan, take a turn at this. What's that? The last one, the last highlighted one at the bottom.
Holy buckets. If any of you were to hunt Rudolf, and what we're talking about is the red-nosed reindeer, what caliber would be best suited for the flying ungulate?
Depends. Are we talking claymation or real?
Let's
claymation birdshot.
Okay.
It didn't even cross my mind. I'm going with buckshot. Real. But number one, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to delay. I'm not going to delay the big guy and his reindeer. I'm not going to do it. And I just got done saying mountain caribou is my pick, but I'm not one of those guys.
I feel like 300 Blackout under nods. He would stand out like a sore thumb.
Oh, I suppose with that blinky blink.
And no one would know.
Yeah. I mean, for the sake of ridiculousness, I'd probably try to shoot him on the ground. You've had Bill on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
You know he won't shoot a ruffed grouse on the ground.
Has he ever got one?
He doesn't get many. I was with him, and there's a roughie scooting along this stand at Black Spruce. I go, grouse! And he pulls up his gun, and I saw his selector go off, and then he goes, I saw him like enter this moral dilemma, and he lowers his gun. He goes, I don't have a shot. And it was like, so I'd probably try to shoot him on the ground, not for any kind of sporting purpose.
Interesting, because that's why I picked buckshot, was because I'm like, well, I feel like with flying reindeer.
If he was flying, no, I'd like to shoot him on the ground. You know, if he was flying, just for the sake of ridiculousness, not the show that you love, I think I'd be either in a quad mount AA, like Browning M2 layout.
Golly, you don't want any of them left, huh?
Or I want an M134 with the Surefire Hellfighter on it.
Seems a little excessive.
Yeah, dude. Don't you want to eat magical reindeer meat? You might fly.
Just watching the tracers and the blinking red nose, I think that's just something about it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound
just to
safe.
shoot one of those would be fun.
Yeah. Zzz. Got him.
Know your target and what's beyond, Ryan.
Can I read two?
Please.
This is from @Trevor_Pig, PIGG. If you don't do a Christmas cartridge talk, I'll never forgive you.
Yeah, that's not really a question.
Done.
That's just a threat.
Well, luckily, we don't have to sort of find out what that threat would have materialized into.
We're all safe.
From @PBenson713, Jimmy is awesome.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
That's just a great
Merry
comment.
Christmas
PBenson713.
Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas.
Jim, you are
you
great.
prefer.
You are great.
And then I'm going to read one more. I'm going to aim this one at Mark because I think he might have a little bit more material. Jimmy, I think, can play well in a pinch with this because he also may be well versed in the topic. This is from Juice_19A.
I like it.
Yeah, the Juice. Favorite SNL skit?
Oh my gosh.
They both
Mark, Mark has. You've watched a lot back in the day.
It's really the only thing that I remember.
It's a shame that it had to go whatever direction it's gone now.
I haven't watched it.
It's irrelevant now, but
I haven't watched it in a bit. Oh my gosh, pick a favorite. I mean, this is the impossible for me. I mean, Super Bassmatic 76. That's a classic.
Super Bassmatic.
Little chocolate donuts with Belushi. Breakfast of Champions. Men's synchronized swimming. You've got Dana Carvey doing his Bush impersonation. I mean, I could go on and on.
I'm ready.
Gosh,
what is it
tough.
called? The bass.
Eddie Murphy. I want to be a hoe. Ho ho ho.
What is
it's
it?
It's a Christmas podcast.
Bassmaster 7613.
The Super Bassmatic 76. You will never have to scale, cut, or gut ever again.
Super Bass.
And then the gal,
That's a
he's
good
got
one.
like this model with like, it's probably like, tomato juice.
Oh,
and
and she drinks it?
She takes a sip and she goes, wow, that's terrific bass.
I'm going to do a little bit of homework on that one. It's like when you guys talk about sports, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I mean,
That's
I
a
could
lie,
go on
Ryan.
and
That's
on.
a lie. You're a huge golfer. I'll just toss out a couple of mine. I remember that my Uncle Bill and Uncle Bill, R.I.P. Sadly, very very recently. Such a good guy, hilarious sense of humor. I gained a lot of like the way that I think things are funny as I grew up from him.
Okay.
He had a VHS in his basement. And his basement just
I already trust him.
His basement was all like wood paneling. Everything was brown, and it smelled of cigars and pipes. We also have a dog in the studio today. Ralph, why don't you find a spot? He had a VHS of old SNL commercial parody skits.
Oh no way! Some of the commercials are great.
Some of the favorites that I recall are "Oops, I Crap My Pants."
Oh, that's great.
there was well, I don't even actually remember what the commercial was for. It was for a number of different products, but it had Jessica Simpson on it. And
Hold on a sec, Jim. But how do you know so much about Oops, I Crap My Pants? Because I'm wearing them.
And I just did. Thanks, Oops, I Crap My Pants. Then there was the one, and it was for a number of products, and Jessica Simpson was sort of modeling it, and she comes off stage, and she's like, hey, I couldn't have the energy I have without this Chicken of the Sea brand tuna. And then they're like, that's right, Jessica, but have you tried our all-new Beef of the Cow brand pork or whatever? And she's like, is it beef or is it pork? And they're like, well, you'll sure love our tuna of the Penn brand chicken. And she gets like all confused. That, and then what's the one? Colon blow and super colon blow.
Oh my gosh.
I'll always laugh at that one.
You'd have to eat 1 million bowls of your regular brand
it's
cereal.
A bowl of just like black clumps.
You ever see the Quarry cereal?
Oh yeah, it's just like
It's
rocks,
a bowl of
right?
rocks.
Yeah.
And the one kid's like, I like Quarry because it's crunchy. Okay. Like I said, I can go on and on. This is just like this.
We're gonna pop through these things.
Yeah.
We're just gonna rip through.
We're not doing
them.
a very
I will
good-
say though that I come from a generation where there was a period of time where shows like SNL were really popular, and so they tried to make some for kids or a younger audience, and the All That show, Kenan and Kel, and the Amanda Show had some pretty funny skits as well, and particularly the Amanda Show before she seemingly went completely off the rails. She had some very, very funny skits, like when Brady's Attack, Judge Judy, Moody's Point, some good stuff back then.
That would have been.
See, 'cause, like,
I'm probably a little old for those ones.
Maybe. I think, like my parents were still like, oh, some of these SNL skits you can't watch, but then the Amanda Show would come on and be like, you can watch those, and there was some pretty funny stuff in there.
Interesting. Ryan, another question for you. By the way, I thought I'd set the tone early, like when we opened, like how many questions we had to get through. We're 25 minutes in, and we've answered like 3.
Here's the deal.
We're not very answer the question.
All right, sorry.
Ryan's bullet choice if he had a 7 PRC.
I suppose it depends on what I'm doing with it.
You got two pretty good options for
Ryan,
two
we
types
all
of
know
things
what you're
that
doing
you
with it. We all know what you're doing with it. Whitetail, pronghorn, mule deer.
Yeah. I'd like to say the 145 grain LRX.
Okay.
I haven't given the 168 LRX a good enough shake in that bore diameter because I don't own a gun that has necessarily the case capacity or the throat to handle it.
I think that would be a
It may be, but there also may be a point of diminishing return too, in which if I step down in weight class and I exploit the velocity pickup of the 145, the like BC value of the 168 is somewhat negated. And then looking at the distances at which I'll ethically engage game personally, I think it would be a wash.
likely.
Yeah. And so I'd rather have the trajectory, the lessened time of flight with the 145 perhaps.
And then, of course, this is, how well they shoot.
Yeah. So I think that's what I do, 145 LRX, possibly 168. Maybe a hammer. I don't know. I haven't given those I've shot hammers on paper. I haven't put them through anything with a heartbeat. So more to come on that.
Okay. This is a question predominantly for you and Jim. Ryan. Weird Gun Jimmy. What is the coolest or most unique firearm each of you own?
Right.
Coolest is too subjective.
Okay, most unique.
Golly. It's going to be unassuming.
Okay.
It's a Nordic NC-22.
Okay.
Is that because you have one of the originals?
I have several through different iterations. One, because I was fortunate enough to be involved with that project, not in its infancy. I'd come into the game just before launch. But then revisions, exhaustive testing, and really getting that product to market. I will say, as unbiasedly as possible, I believe it is the finest 22 upper receiver conversion, whatever you want to call it, for the AR-15 platform. We had labeled it to a couple of other different companies too that would sell it under their name, but it was our operating system in there, and I have no idea how many rounds that myself and my coworkers put through the NC-22 in various iteration. And it's a humble little piece of kit that, because I think I was there at the beginning, and saw a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into that product, I would say that it is my coolest thing.
Cool.
Yeah. I always enjoy shooting it.
Tough to not like shooting a 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim?
I feel like the coolest gun I own is, I'm just going to say it, it's my Ruger American in 6.5 Creed, because I've had it so long, and it has lived the life of a lost glove stuck under your driver's seat in your truck. Like, that's the life that it's lived, and it still absolutely hammers.
It's been spilled on a couple times.
Oh, yeah, and it's just gross. I'm sure the inside of the barrel looks like the surface of Mars or like the Badlands, and it's just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care. And I don't know how many rounds it has through it, because I don't care. And it doesn't care either, and we get along great. But the most unique gun I have is the Vepr. A long time ago, I bought a 308 Vepr, made in the Russian Malot factory, and it came with some ugly sporterized furniture. And I went to some website that sold furniture for it that looked like that of a SVD Dragunov, or maybe like a Romanian PSL, but more on the Dragunov side. And I put that on myself as like a college kid who didn't know anything about messing around with guns, but I actually managed to put it on, and it looks super naughty. It's got like a 23-inch long barrel with a break on the end of it, and
It's pretty wild.
it's pretty cool. And it's in 308.
The world's most versatile cartridge.
Yeah.
We'll find out. For me, I got to go with my Savage Model 24.
Yep.
22 over 410,
Yeah.
Winner.
Oh, yeah.
Winner.
which we did a podcast on.
Hey, you know what it's almost season for, Mark?
Small game,
Yep. Here comes Peter Cottontail hopping down the bunny trail.
snowshoes.
Hippity-hoppity Marky's on his way.
Ryan and I have been planning a snowshoe hunt for,
As long as we've been planning a grouse hunt and a cast and blast.
so however long we've known each other, it's that long.
Coming up on 10 years, Boardman.
Okay, well, we should do that one of these days. Which Vortex red dot for a turkey gun? I like that. I love that somebody's thinking about turkey season already.
Heck yeah.
Mm.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming up. We got to apply.
I've got the Defender CCW on mine, and I shot a turkey in the face with it this last spring.
I do like that choice. I've got the Spark Solar on mine, but I'm actually thinking about going Crossfire.
Thank you.
I don't like looking through a tube.
Jim.
Not on a turkey gun for some reason. I don't mind it on an AR. I couldn't tell you why, but on a turkey gun, I don't like looking through a tube.
I'll say this. I hunted the Defender last year. I've got a Venom on one because there's not a reliable mounting solution for a Defender that doesn't require me to drill holes in my gun. So I've got a Venom on one, on a lovely little Benelli 20 gauge, which I'm kind of off the 12 gauge strain now. We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
And then I had the Defender on top of my Vinci, and I'm not going to say against open concept emitter dots on a shotgun that you're going to be brush busting with and out in the rain and potentially snow with. But the Defender is such a phenomenal optically, mechanically, electronically, that is electronically a word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely it is.
That all of my unfounded apprehension was absolved. And now I also really like the Crossfire, though, because it has a manual control. And the
That's
ability
kinda
to
what I like.
yes,
Yeah.
the ability to quickly amend the dot setting with a gross motor function as opposed to a small button has happened to me exactly one time. And I wouldn't have killed that bird anyway. But there was like a moment.
Yeah. I hunted
think
the Defender in snow type conditions, and I didn't have a problem with it.
Nuclear bright on its brightest setting. Like, it'll hurt your eyes bright.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it was snowing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that the fear, well, why not? I'll just get flamed for this, whatever. I think that the fear of the open emitter is mostly unfounded by many people. I think that there are a select few people probably who find themselves in some type of an environment where a closed emitter would be much more advantageous. But concealed carry, like, dude, my friggin' Defender CCW window is so caked full of belly button garbage and dirt and all that stuff. You can still see the dot perfectly fine. There's no issue. You go to classes or trainings and people will just absolutely fill the window full of water and all this other crap to show you that it really doesn't matter. There are people who literally tape over the entire optic to do the occluded eye shooting with a red dot and can still shoot better than 98% of the population. So, I mean, closed emitter, like I said, it absolutely has, there's reasons or places and instances where it would be better, but I think, I just like on a shotgun having less.
There's nothing there. It looks like if I bring that gun up, it's just gone. There's just a dot.
So here's why I would be drawn to that too, because for that reason, it becomes
invisible,
and you start using the shotgun like a shotgun again. If that kind of makes sense.
Yes.
At least that's how it feels.
At least that's how it feels.
No.
It's kind of how it looks too.
No.
Like, less of a I got a scope on my gun, which I've gotten over. Also, that came from Canuck _ shooter, maybe another one of our
friends to the north,
northern brothers.
Yep.
Sure.
Ryan, you've been off the sauce for a little bit.
Yeah.
So this will be for Jim and myself.
I thought it was going to be fun.
Cedric Martin, 94, asked Miller High Life or Pabst Blue Ribbon. Maybe I've had a couple. Pabst this morning.
Is Pabst your go-to of those two?
That long pause. I remember Pabst.
And hopefully that sounded like the word I intended it to be, which was Pabst. Anyway.
I remember Pabst Blue Ribbon. I had one. My buddy Matt, who I don't think listens to this podcast, brought PBR to a garage party.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is this? Because we were a Keystone community. You know?
Oh, really? Holding the stones.
Yeah. Let's not, we were poor. And I remember it being horrible. I was like, Maddie, this is bad.
It's cool to like it.
I mean, I know why the question was asked, because neither beer is very
And what
good,
was the other beer?
Miller High Life.
I liked High Life.
I choose High Life if for no other reason than their commercials, their old commercials with the guy who'd go around the stadium. Were great.
I thought High Life was good.
Okay, here's my one and only High Life story. It was probably like a Tuesday. I was in college, and my buddy Forrest and I was like, Forrest, I don't want to get drunk tonight, but I feel like having a couple beers. He's like, you know what? Me too. We bought a sixer of High Life. We each had 3. Very casual for those days. Very civilized. I woke up with a raging headache.
Really?
And maybe I didn't drink enough water that day. I don't know, but I've always attributed it to I can't, that does not sit well with my brain. Now, I don't like Pabst Blue Ribbon either. There, I'll say that. I don't really like either. If you made me pick one, I would probably pick the Pabst.
Just based on your previous experience, huh?
But also, I wouldn't want to drink it though, because I feel like it's like hipster, like to be I'm not that.
Isn't it a shame when hipsters ruin perfectly good things? Yeah.
And also, with my advanced age, I have a condition where most beer gives me heartburn, except beers like, for some reason, and maybe, please, listeners out there, explain to me, Coronas, Pacificos, Negro Modelos, fine.
No problem.
No problem.
Mark brought a sixer of Coronas to deer camp.
Yeah, I remember that. It's still there.
He did not drink
Still there.
Yeah, we didn't.
High Life was always the one that gentlemen in our early 20s would tape to their hands.
Oh dear.
Everyone knows what the game is called.
Yeah.
And you tape it to your hands, and what ensued usually was no good.
Yeah. Also, the status of those 6 beers at your place, Jim, also denote my shooting a buck success rate of 0, which resulted in 0 drinking of,
A little too shaky.
of beers.
A little too shaky.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Ryan, this is good. This is gonna be good information for when we load those barns for the old 300 Wisdom. Hinton 613 asks, which is better for load development, downrange groups or standard deviation?
Both are important. Standard deviation first.
Really?
Yes, and here's why. So if you had we're working in total hypotheticals here. If you had a 100-yard range that was climate, humidity, wind controlled.
Mm-hmm.
So we remove.
I know a place.
Yeah, we remove any variable. But you had a rifle that had a barrel that was as rigid as it could possibly be.
Mm.
You may not see the negative effects of a wild ES and SD on your group at 100 yards. In that you might see a two-dimensional printing of a group that looks exceptional. But in getting into kind of the other half of load development, and that's velocity, you'd find that it's all over the place. We stretch that distance out further. Now all of a sudden you see your vertical go wild.
Sure.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this before, actually, when we do the Vortex Edge reloading class, which is a class that we offer, where a shooter will have an exceptional group, like the proverbial one-holer, but their ESs and SD are all over the map.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a ton of confidence that's gained when you look at that tiny little bug hole group on paper, but your group is not telling you the rest of the story.
Okay,
and that
right.
is if
that
the,
makes sense.
Yeah, we go out to longer range and all of a sudden your vertical dispersion is incredibly wild. And then now you have nothing, right? So what I'll typically do is I look for the SD and ES right off the bat. I'm not going to say that oftentimes a solid SD and a solid ES leads to a great downrange group, because that's not always the case. A lot of times it is. And then if I don't get the group that I want, then I know that I'm chasing something very likely mechanical. And so I'm looking for cartridge overall length, distance of ogive to rifling, or just a seat to depth amendment, or something is going to change that I can control with the die, as opposed to the more likely cause for a wild ES or a flat ES or SD, which is chemical.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good answer.
That's a good answer. C-Rod 1088. Are you guys going to keep doing cartridge talks and head-to-head battles?
I yield to the moderator.
I'd say stay tuned.
He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He likes to leave
I'd
me in
say
this
if that's enough information for you.
hanging situation.
Stay tuned. Probably gets to the cross.
At Zach F.,
Ron?
Mr.
if
F.
you could only eat one kind of apple for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Wow. What a question.
It's a good one, huh?
Ryan, you know so many
Really?
kinds of apples.
This is a hard one for
I'm
you?
not. Well, Ryan, he hunts for plants constantly. Can't get out of his own way when it comes to any.
Yeah.
So Jim sent me a picture of an apple. Said, "What kind of apple is this?"
Oh yeah, from that tree on our
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Ancient apple tree. And there is a website that using rind color, skin color, leaf and stem shape and size, overall dimension of the apple, color of the flesh, and I think it had something to do with the seeds too. We deduced what that apple was, and it was a very old apple.
And it was delicious.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And like that apple was a cultivar from like the 1880s, 1870s, somewhere there.
All you got to do is look at that tree and it's ancient.
Yeah. But I like a lot of different apples, like a Gala or a Fuji, or even, I'll say this, and a lot of people are going to throw shade. When I was a little kid, my mom brought home Red Delicious apples one time, which I think a lot of people poo-poo now.
Yeah.
Really?
They're a soft flesh and they're kind of grainy.
Mm-hmm. I like those.
But
Like
they're
a Macintosh almost?
yeah. But the Red Delicious is like the apple you put on your teacher's desk.
Right. Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
They almost, I picture them because they would just come in hordes at school lunches and you'd like pick them out and you'd always feel like they had like a waxy surface on the outside of them and you'd be like, what is that, like a chemical? And then when you eat them, they taste a little chemically?
yeah.
It probably just was some sort of chemical on your school lunch, Jim.
Probably.
The Red Delicious, I remember being a kid thinking like I had the epitome of apple in my hand. And I don't get them very often, because we live in a world of apples like the Honeycrisp.
Mm-hmm.
But a Red Delicious, I don't know, it just kind of brings me back to some kind of thing. I usually pick up a bag of Fuji and a bag of Gala when I'm driving to Wyoming, and that's my snack on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm lucky enough to have any left on my way back, I'll nibble on them too.
You like Gold Delicious?
Never had a Gold Delicious.
I have, and I like them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like
Interesting.
feral apples too. Some of the wild, quote unquote, wild apples that we have running around here. These are just like escapees from.
Like when you find a random apple tree.
Yeah, I've got one. I'll tell you off air where it is. Be a great place to shoot a white-tailed deer.
I found an apple tree on a property this year, and big. I took pictures of it, like big, cool-looking red apples. They were a little. They weren't. I'd say for like an old apple tree that you find, they were nice apples.
Yeah.
I didn't try one though, but a little earlier in the season, I might grab some of those.
Did you say what yours was yet, Mark?
I'm going with the Honeycrisp.
That's fine.
They're sweet. They taste good.
Yeah, they're good.
Really,
apple,
really good.
Delicious. Very versatile.
But I like a lot of different apples. I'm not a apple snob by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. Mars LLC. If you could own one Vortex scope, what scope would it be? XOXO with it's got a little kissy emoji. I don't know what that means, but
Well, that's how they do it in Mars. This guy has an LLC in Mars. Can you believe that guy he's already
forward thinking.
He's setting up LLCs. He probably has some property.
On Mars?
Oceanfront.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
LHT 3 to 15 by 42. It's
The way that you answered is as if you're offended by the question.
I'm not offended by the question. I just think
he's offended by any other answer that could follow.
I think there's one answer to that.
He said you can only have one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, razor 1 to 10.
That's a pretty good answer too.
Jim poses a juxtaposition, perhaps. For what? One for what?
Well, that's just it. You can only have one,
it.
and then you have to figure out what you're going to do with the one. You can't. What you chicken or the egg? In this case, choosing the scope comes first.
No, I'm not going to pick the razor 1 to 10 because it is the best answer.
It's the easy button, and I took it.
Okay, I'm going to give you this answer from the hunter's perspective. That would be SKU number VHS-4303. That's the Viper HS 2.5 to 10.
Whatever.
I knew it. I knew he'd do it.
Mark,
It's
there's no.
It's not often you're wrong, but you are wrong right now.
You know what I hope happens
moving
to you?
along to you.
No, you know what I hope happens to you?
No,
I hope you go to the store and there's no Honeycrisp apples. That's what I hope happens to you.
I hope that you and I are on a hunt, and you need to take a shot, and you forgot which line to hold. With the simple 3 lines in the dead hold BDC reticle at 1.5, 4.5, 7.5 MOA from center. So clean. It's right there.
Don't forget the top of the thick post.
Oh, yeah. That's at 11. Turn it to 11, Mark.
Ryan, I already just
11?
held high shoulder and let it rip.
Well, we saw how well that worked out a couple weeks ago.
The negativity is like, I missed deer the other week. Conspicuously left. So conspicuous, and the shots felt so good that I went back and I shot my rifle, which was dead on. Which part of me was like, I was very...
Did you factor Coriolis?
Yeah, I was going to say it was the Coriolis.
I was really...
Vernal Equinox.
I was 50-50.
Was he shooting north-south?
Can I finish? I was 50-50 on whether I wanted the rifle to be wildly off. therefore validating that it wasn't me.
I was hoping for that.
But
then there was part of me that said, well, I hope it was me because I don't want to have to mess with my rifle in the middle of a hunt.
Yep.
Yeah, left. I mean, exactly left. And the shots felt, I don't know. I mean, so much so that I was calling you like 3 days later being like, okay, well,
we're going to put you
like
through the hunter
maybe
marksmanship class.
I was, contorted to my right a little bit.
That's exactly what I told him to. Hunter marksmanship.
Yeah, I'm going to.
And that's honestly not saying like remedial English or anything. It's actually a really, really good class.
Yeah.
And we basically just very cleverly disguise a bunch of precision, some maybe even might say competition shooting elements, but we put it into a hunting context.
That class kicked my rhymes with class. But, and it did. And I stepped away from that. I was like, I got work to do.
It's a good class. You should do it, Mark.
I agree.
Vortex Edge.
I will.
Sign up.
No, I will. I've been wanting to do that for a while, and apparently need it. Oh God, it was just like it was so like. I mean, they were shots where you're just like, okay, here we go, and you're not dead? What? What's going on here?
Let's try that again.
At R.C. Kennerson, will you get on the 8.6 Blackout Subsonic train? All aboard.
We've been talking. Ryan and I were having lengthy conversations about this.
You can't skin this cat a couple ways. I think you have to ask yourself the question: am I putting my precedence on suppression, ergo operating in the subsonic airspace only, or am I putting my precedence on frontal area and terminal package?
Ryan, he killed Cape Buffalo with it.
Supersonic.
No.
210 grain Barnes.
Who's he?
Kevin Brittingham. I don't think it was supersonic, I thought. No, he said subsonic.
Well, maybe he did, but
2 shots.
You ever see that Jack Brittingham video when he shoots that brown bear with the bow? It's a pretty cool video.
Sounds cool.
I think the 8.6 is a really interesting thing personally. I toyed with this in my head. I yielded 338 Federal because I want good suppression, but I want to be able to push a 160 grain Barnes TTSX flat base at absolutely the highest velocity that I can in a short package.
Yeah.
And I realize it's like doing the same thing my 16-inch 308 is, but it's not. It's doing things differently.
Not that different.
Quite different.
The 8.6 is capitalizing
You're
on
going to shoot a 160 grainer out of a 338 diameter.
The
What a 130 out of
is
30.
It's capitalizing on 3 things that people place a lot of emphasis on, and it's trying to do them all at once and all exceptionally, which is small, quiet, deadly.
Yeah.
I would like all of those things because we just went out. We just went hunting. Whitetail season here. I shot my 6.5 Creedmoor. My Ruger American, which has a 22 or 24-inch barrel, the Predator model.
22-ish? 22? I'll say 22.
I think 22 is right.
Yeah.
22-inch barrel, and I stuck a basically 9-inch long harvester can on the end of it. And we were pinky up in a blind, and it was unwieldy in a blind, and carrying it around out there if I was going to be, a little bit more rough in it. It's a lot of gun to carry around.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that thing suppressed incredibly.
Yeah.
It was like shooting an air rifle, basically. And I'm not talking like some super hopped up air rifle. I'm talking like my Red Ryder.
Dunk.
And I was like, I would like that. And it was very deadly.
What bullet did you
I'd like
shoot
it
out of
smaller.
What bullets were you
What
shooting?
were we shooting, Ryan?
James was shooting the
127?
factory-loaded Barnes Vortex 127 LRX.
27, yep.
So I'm like, cataclysmic.
I can tell you
from
where I was sitting, not shooting deer, a couple times by choice, a couple times by not choice. I got to see both of Jim's deer get hit and go down, and it was not a 6.5 need more.
No.
It was they didn't need more. They were very dead.
It was a 6.5
That's what
lights
need
out.
more means. I get it.
Right.
I see the people say that, need more.
It's funny. It's a
It is funny.
It is
play
funny.
on words.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, if I could just have the same thing but smaller, but then you go smaller and you're like, well, now I'm sacrificing bullets. It's just so many things.
Yeah.
I would like to shoot the 8.6 Blackout and assess.
I think that's a platform decision. I think if you seek a platform and, like you had said, small, discreet, deadly.
Yeah.
The 8.6 is a better application perhaps in a given platform.
Than
The Federal, 330 Federal.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's going to be, I think, an 18.1 inch Tikka with a fun, interesting hybrid contour barrel.
Okay.
And it'll be suppressed.
Cool, man. Another question directed towards Ryan. Surprise, surprise. A lot of these. What does Ryan think?
Well,
what
'cause he's
does
the
Ryan
most-
think?
yeah,
What
Why'd
does
you
Ryan
highlight
think?
it?
Interesting.
Huh?
Man.
Why'd you highlight it?
Because it's a good question. Does Ryan prefer lever or bolt action overall? This was my favorite part. Answer cannot contain the words, it depends.
I see, that's the way to ask a question. Way to go, Chris.
Chris Akins, 24.
Sure, I like that. You can't say it depends. You can't. He
Was Ken
he
Griffey
was
Jr.
just
number
about
24?
to he was just about to bite the cyanide pill.
Griffey Jr., was he 24? Number 24?
I don't know. That's baseball, isn't it?
I think bolt action.
Okay,
Yeah,
straight up.
Yeah.
straight up. I
Lever.
like it.
Lever.
You don't need to explain yourself.
I'll say it.
Rick Tack 14. I don't really have anything good for this one, so I'm depending on you guys. Who has the weirdest Xmas story? Oh, actually, I have one. I invited Ryan over to Christmas. He didn't show up.
You have a pretty hilarious Christmas story with some family that wound up.
Oh,
getting
family dynamics
heated.
are always interesting.
I can't think of like a super. What is it? The
weirdest?
weirdest Christmas story. Anything weird happen to you, Ryan, on Christmas?
A couple years ago, there was deer on my deck on Christmas morning. We got snow, and they like to eat at my bird feeder.
Fun.
As does every other small mammal in the area. I had Greg the possum last night for a couple hours. But Eric Barber and I went out, I think, Christmas Day last year, killed a couple white-tailed deer.
Oh, that's fun.
Yep, felt pretty good about that. I haven't been to a family Christmas in a long time.
Yeah.
I think if my brother hears that, he's going to make a comment about what a Grinch I am because I'm not a Christmas person.
I remember one time as a kid waking up in the middle of the night, and it wasn't Christmas like morning or Christmas Eve, but it was very close to Christmas. And like, woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like scared or whatever. You know, this was a couple years ago. No, I was like real young. Woke up in the middle of the night, got scared, ran to my parents' room. They were outside shoveling snow, and so they weren't in their beds. And my dad always tells everyone that he runs into that he's an alien. And he does it so much and so insistently that honestly, you get to the point where you're like, you know what? Maybe he is.
Maybe.
I don't know. And they were gone. And my first instinctual reaction, because of what I'd been fed so much as a child, was they'd finally been abducted and he'd been called home and they left me behind. And I ran out into the living room, and we had a little TV room that was like a porch thing, and there was like an old school stereo in there, and when it was turned off on standby, it would do all the little sound waves on the front of the screen. Well, all the sound waves were like reflecting on the wall, so there was these green waving lights on the wall.
They're still here.
And then I ran over to the basement steps to go find my brothers, but the fireplace was on downstairs, and so there was orange waving lights flickering all over the wall. And then I heard outside the sound of my parents shoveling, which was so then I was like, oh my gosh, they're still outside and they're harvesting them. And I think I just went back to bed and
Collapsed.
Pretty much I just passed back out. Like, I think I was also in a state of like half awake, but I remember this very vividly.
Family Christmas 2018 was rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to deal with that, Jim.
It's all right.
Sounds
I don't
frightening.
remember a lot from that year, but I sure remember that.
I once played Carl, Santa's cousin, for Christmas for my niece. She bit it hook, line, and sinker. She
Nice.
called me Carl.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. She's wonderful.
I'd love to have a weirder Christmas this year. Hopefully I've got a weirder Christmas to talk about next year.
Nice. Why don't let's have a nice one.
Let's get weird.
Cameron in the wild, what caliber are you guys afraid to shoot?
My 405 Winchester.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty bad. You know,
We're also at minute 58.
Doesn't
We're
matter.
Not even close.
The clock doesn't matter, Mark.
Yeah.
We
Ryan,
control the clock.
I've got 3 double-sided printouts left.
Okay,
There's
we
no
control
way.
the clock.
Your story was excessive.
This is airing on Christmas. We're working
Give
on the
people
25th.
what they want.
Technically, indirectly, we're working on the 25th. What better do people have to do? Once you do the whole Christmas morning thing,
Yeah.
you don't have anything going on.
I fired some large guns. Worst being 505 Gibbs, and that was a handful.
Yeah.
I want the opportunity to shoot some of the giant nitros, like 577, 6, and 700 nitro.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd also like to shoot a couple of bore rifles, like an 8 or a 4. And I know I'm not going to enjoy any of it, but just to say that I've done it. One of the worst guns I've ever fired was a Ruger No. 1 in 458 lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was atrocious.
There was nothing to soak that up other than you.
Yep. And then my hand slips off the grip and I hit the lever. Just terrible, 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 terrible. I don't think I'm afraid to shoot any caliber.
I'd be those ones that you mentioned. That's where I start to get apprehensive.
Yeah.
Like, what's this going to be like?
You got to do it once.
But
though.
I would still want to.
Yeah.
But there'd be some apprehension with some of them.
I shot a Magnum Research BFR in 450 Marlin.
Ooh.
That was a spicy meatball. Makes a 500 Smith & Wesson feel like a 25 ACP.
Here's one for me.
I'll read
Do it. Oh, yeah. What?
Yep,
Wait.
let Jim read
When
it.
did you read the
This
last one
one.
for Mark?
Improvise.
It's just no surprise what the question is, Mark.
Right. It's a good question.
This is from Avlav. Mark, what is your favorite bullet to hunt elk with from your 300 Wisdom?
So the answer to that is that depends. I'm gonna say like a few because I've found great success with mini bullets out of that rifle. The Hornet GMX, rest in peace. Now you have the new CX, so I haven't shot those. Accubons. I've shot 165 and 180 Accubons. They both did famously. Shot some critters with those. They did absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The Swift Scirocco.
Mm.
I think I've killed one thing with that out of that gun, but I've used that in a couple other things, and I really love the Swift Scirocco.
I love that name.
Which
Makes me
it's the
think
Swift
of the
Scirocco
Volkswagen
2 now,
Scirocco.
right?
Yeah, Scirocco 2.
Maybe that's even what I was running. Bullets that I'm very curious about. The 200 grain terminal ascents. Oops.
Nope.
She gone.
We've thrown our pen.
And these 175 Barnes LRXs. I am very curious about those as well.
By your foot, Ryan.
Oh, it's under the...
I kind of traveled there a little bit. So I know that
goodness.
wasn't a singular answer.
Not at all.
And then
not even a little bit.
Right
It
now,
wasn't.
was those 190 ABLRs that just they shot really well.
ABLR is a pretty special bullet.
So
Ryan, did you?
Here's what I'd say: there's some great options out there for you.
Sure. This one isn't highlighted, but Ryan, did you say 7mm odd 8 was a lead balloon at one point? Because you offended deeply.
Somebody did get a little hot about that.
79.
Because I had a couple people reach out and be like, dude, you talking smack on the 7mm 08?
Bro.
It's a lead balloon, but you have to understand how lead balloon status is achieved. It's not because I think it's a bad cartridge. I think a 7mm 08 is about as good as it gets.
Mm.
And I've talked about that quite a bit. I think that the commercial appeal of the cartridge is severely minimized and grossly understated. Because so many people associate it with being like a youth or ladies cartridge.
I know,
And that
Why is that?
it's like the Metric 243.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand either.
I'm saying like how people think of it.
Oh, no, I know.
know?
I know what you mean, yeah.
And if you remember, we did a cartridge talk on the 7mm 08. I threw some heavy praise its way, comparing it to the God Almighty 7mm Remington Magnum, which it barely is behind. Truly barely behind. So I think the 7mm 08 is a beautiful cartridge. I wish that more people knew what it was, understood what it was, and benchmarked some of these very famous new Magnums against it, because they'd be like, oh, it's like the same but less recoily.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think when we did that podcast, and I stand by this, I feel like it ekes out of lead balloon status. Like, I think it rides the razor's edge.
It's the one that isn't commercially loved for no good reason.
Okay, that is true.
It's like 257 Roberts. Classic cartridge. Beautiful round. Fantastic cartridge. Oh, it's 257 Roberts. Can't do anything with that. That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous, he says.
All right, what else you got, Jim?
Ridiculous.
Now that you've commandeered my printouts.
Well, I commandeered them just briefly. You guys are reading off a lot of questions. I'll ask this one. Doran Wingham, I believe, says, did Mark ever get his coffee cup back?
I did. Let me ask you this. If you're just getting your things back, is it stealing? Because I basically stole it off Ryan's desk. And you know what? For good reason. I think Ryan had attained squatter's rights on it at that point. Squatter's rights.
It was my cup.
It was.
Oh, yeah, that's what I forget. Dude, there's a lot of coffee cups that Mark has left in places, so it's hard to remember which one.
And you know how you can track Boardman? You just look for a Nalgene or a Yeti cup, tumbler, mug.
Yes.
You just look for, has Boardman been here? I don't have the nose to smell him. But wait a minute. There's a Nalgene bottle.
There's an unused Yeti cup.
I'd love to know how many Nalgene bottles I've lost.
Nalgene's, the premise behind the bottle is reduce, reuse, recycle, and it's a very good product, right? You can beat the tar out of them, they don't break. Somehow Boardman has offset the whole save a...
But somebody out there is doing those things
with the bottles
still,
that you've...
You know what I mean?
So he treats them as single use.
I've had this one for a while.
He thinks it's such an inconvenience that he has to fill them the first time.
Right. He wishes they came pre-filled.
I like the bright orange.
I once made a Nalgene explode like a grenade. I swear I was lucky I was wearing long pants. I'd had shrapnel in my leg.
Goodness gracious.
If you drop them full of water when they're well used and worn, flat on their base on the bottom, and it strikes the ground just perfectly, it will absolutely explode.
If you try throwing them from the base level of VTX HQ up to the marketing level, and
you can almost kill a person.
Yeah, you hit the.
Oh yeah, you could.
You hit the railing, and it shoots back down at somehow a higher rate of speed than it went up. They'll also pop.
I have one more addition.
Just real quick here.
Nope, time out. I have one more addition to this cup conversation.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I'd also like to believe that I rescued my cup because it was growing a science experiment on Ryan's desk.
You know what a fungophile I was. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I was using
people don't like black mold.
Well, Mark, you need to expand
Oh, miraculously, everybody's respiratory issues went away at work. Interesting, Ryan.
The 7mm Remington Magnum beats the 7mm 08 out by a measly 200 feet per second, which appreciably you don't see if you're shooting 500 yards or less with a 140 grain bullet and a max charge of IMR 4350. There's a massive differential of powder used, 65 grains in the 7mm Rem Mag. 46 in the 708. Good job, 7 Rem Mag. Next.
We're getting pretty close. We're making more headway than I thought. We still have a lot.
You are a roller coaster. We'll never make it.
All right, guys. Oh boy. Klimishevic. Question mark? What's your favorite hot sauce?
I'll take that one.
I saw that one. I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, be the buffalo hot sauce as chosen by your peers.
That one will only be understood by the however many odd people we have working here. That is a hot sauce commissioned by
your peers.
Your peers. It is a Vortex branded hot sauce that we got through the same hot sauce people who do the hot sauce for Hot Ones on YouTube.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they'll let you like buy hot sauce like a certain amount and you can brand it and stuff like that. So we bought like 15 of their different hot sauces, the samples, and then we had a bunch of your peers.
I mean, that was a company-wide.
That was a
I'm not sure we've ever seen
initiative.
so much participation.
Oh yeah. So just wait what we got under our sleeves next. Something else good. Do you have another favorite hot sauce other than that?
I'll say this. I was never a hot sauce person until I went to college, and my roommate, Ray Gardner Jr., shout out to baby Ray, introduced me to Frank's Red Hot.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
And it's very versatile. We were very poor. Churched up a lot of packet ramen with Frank's Red Hot.
That'll do. I bet that'd be good.
Oh, yeah. Put everything on it, too. Did a lot of wild duck on ramen with Frank's Red Hot. It's very good. Macaroni and cheese, Frank's Red Hot. Send it.
Oh, no, that's good.
Frank's has a strange effect on my insides. Not because of the spice. Like, I handle, like, very spicy things, but it just, it's a bit like getting a punch to the gut.
I'm going to go with sriracha.
Oh, I forgot about sriracha, man.
I cook with a lot of sriracha.
What
Sriracha's
a chump.
pretty good.
Mark,
Sriracha's
that's
another
a good
thing.
answer.
It's another thing that hipsters have ruined.
Oh, really?
No, you didn't know? It was like it swept the nation. Everyone, I'm obsessed with sriracha. I love spicy food. Look at me.
I like the garlic sriracha.
Here's what I'd say.
Yeah, the garlic is good.
I'm a I only probably been aware of sriracha for 7-8 years.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
So, but maybe I am a benefactor
I think you are.
of this hipster niche of which I'm thankful for because I enjoy it.
When I first had sriracha, it was at a place called Windmill Pizzeria, now closed down. Never forgotten. Brooklyn Bomber, greatest pizza I've ever eaten.
Mm.
And
Boy, some of the best pizza I've ever had was in Kellogg, Idaho.
Really?
Close to the Schweitzer ski resort. I don't remember the name of the place, but it was excellent pizza.
Well,
many years ago.
You don't have
It's
to
probably
remember.
still
You
there.
just sent your butler out to get it.
Yeah. I had sriracha because it was on the table, and I said, what is this stuff? And sriracha, and I put it on a Brooklyn Bomber, and I just elevated to a new level of, like, understanding.
I think the first time I had sriracha may have been many years ago, college-type years, eating pho.
Could be. Pho. So, Cholula.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Chili garlic.
Never had it.
Very good. You can only find some grocery stores.
What color is it?
It's more of a bright red than a deep red.
Okay.
Of the regular Cholula. And if you go to some grocery stores, will have Cholulas, like a more robust lineup of Cholula's hot sauces. They have traditional.
Yep.
They'll have the green stuff, which I think is just jalapeno, if I'm remembering correctly. And then they have chili garlic and they have chipotle lime. And chili garlic and the green stuff, delicious.
I'm gonna get some. See, I never did any
Chili
of this
garlic
stuff.
sounds amazing.
Dude, it's so good. My wife doesn't like hot sauce, but she'll put chili garlic on everything.
I never did any of this kind of stuff until, honestly, I started working here and like traveling for work. And then we would have meals ranging from regular restaurants to like the 3 a.m. road trip gas station stuff.
I've never done this before, I swear.
I had my first, what's that burrito place?
Don't say Chipotle or Qdoba.
You brought me there. You're like,
oh, Doba then.
Okay. I had my first, only one I've ever had because of you.
Pretty good.
Yeah, we were on
I
our way
wouldn't
to
have taken
Nebraska.
you to Chipotle.
Okay, wherever you took us, it was good.
There's another one. There's a local one. It's called Marissa's or something like that, and
Okay.
I've gotten it at Brennan's on the west side of Madison. And that is what I rub the briskets in that I do when I do the Mexican style brisket.
Oh, interesting.
And I just lather it in that, and then I put a chili lime seasoning over the top of it.
I almost used an expletive
Smoke
right there.
that.
Thinking
10
about
out of
that.
10, 12 out of 10,
And
Jim.
that stuff turns out pretty. It's a really deep red, like thick, pasty hot sauce.
It went on, and I was thinking it was going to be a lot hotter than it was. I was like, what?
It's just good.
I'm like, we're going to be
Just good.
sitting in ground blinds
Just
for the next
like a sauna.
10 hours?
Ugh.
Like, did you just do us wrong on purpose? And Jim just
Nick's Wild Ride, country artist Nick Hoffman, also from the TV show Nick's Wild Ride, did a podcast with Nick a while back. Really fun conversation. I'd suggest people. He's got just a very interesting
let Ryan
story.
Read this one because it's to you. It's the top one.
It's
Ryan.
to Mark?
Yeah. It's got a blue check mark next to it.
Nick's Wild Ride. This is a great question. Hope you're well. When is Mark going to grow a proper mustache, and what does he have against mustaches? I'd like to answer this one on behalf of Mark. Instead of allowing Mark to do this. Mark showed up.
This question's for Mark. I'm going to read the question and answer it.
Yeah,
Mark showed up to work this 2 years ago wearing a cookie duster of unbelievable magnitude.
I don't remember this.
He has a strong upper lip, and when that thing comes in, look at it. Look at that. I mean, if we get a dial caliper on that thing, you have a mustache potential that, I'm going to say this in full confidence, only a few people like Sam Elliott and Tom Selleck.
Okay, now I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember The Simpsons when Flanders is recently single because his wife died in a T-shirt cannon accident while going to fetch him a not foot-long hot dog because they make him uncomfortable? Homer sets out for a dating service to market Ned Flanders to the single women of Springfield and Shelbyville. And Mark's mustache had the same effect. Mark tells me his wife doesn't like it and his daughters don't like it because Mark will always pull that card. My girls don't like it. They say, Daddy, no, I don't like your mustache. I don't think so.
Are you talking about a mustache or a beard?
Both.
So here's what I'll say. So I've...
you have graduated from completely cleanly shaven.
So I had a pretty full beard not that long ago. And
I didn't get to see it.
I did shave down to, like, when I took it off, went down to the mustache just to see. It's not a good look for me.
You are so wrong.
You're incorrect.
Wrong.
Hey, I wish it was. I mean, Tom Selleck, Magnum P.I., you want to see a mustache get pulled off, it's that guy.
I'll tell you what.
But so it wasn't good. And mustaches, I feel, no offense to anybody carrying a mustache as of late, because they are in fashion, they are in vogue, but they are hipster-ish, and that's just like that's not me.
That is true.
One thing that can be said about your mustache is it contains an entirely different level of power. It is its own entity, and its own being. And for you to bring it back would be the greatest gift that I could have for Christmas.
Mark does bring up the fact that
I find that unsettling.
And you know what he says? He says, "Oh, my wife doesn't like it."
Oh, she hates the beard.
You know what I think? I think it makes him look so attractive that if that statement's true, it's only because Mark is now just
making his wife uncomfortable.
Yes.
But now you've made me uncomfortable.
I'll tell you what, 10 comments and Mark will grow his mustache back. Comment below.
All we need is 10.
Mustache.
I've never even had back. I've never had a mustache.
Just 10 comments. Doesn't even matter what they are.
Guaranteed
10 comments.
Ryan Van, MC Ryan, can pull a mustache picture from this podcast because he's had it.
Yes, I guarantee
there's
that he
nothing
can as
with
well.
just a mustache.
Mark brings up
guaranteed.
the trendiness of mustaches, and if you do it, then you have all these people who are like, oh, wow, you went for the mustache. And then you have to explain to them that, oh, well, it's not because some weirdo on Instagram did it. It's because I just want to. That is the only issue with it.
Okay. We're gonna try and get through these. Jim, this is for you. I want to know all about Jimmy's 6-arc bolt gun.
Oh yeah,
give us the cliff notes on that.
I really like my 6-arc bolt gun. That's probably why he asked about it, because I've talked about it before. And all right, so what we have is a bighorn / it's like two names. Zermatt action TL3, and I've got that set up with an 18-inch barrel from Shaw barrels. I actually looked around all over the place because I was trying to find a Remage-style barrel for my action in 6-arc, and I think because 6-arc is kind of some new hotness right now, it was very difficult to find. I stumbled across Shaw barrels, and they had one in stock, and I grabbed it. It was 22 inches. And I grabbed it, and I immediately had it cut down to 18 inches. Thought about 16, but I was like, okay, we'll go to 18. Threaded it. And it's between cans right now, and it's between optics right now.
Oh, it's an estate.
It's in a state, yeah, and I feel bad about that. But when I did have it set up, I was shooting it through Harvester, and I was shooting Hornady 108s, I want to say. And I've got an MDT chassis. And the MDT chassis is the one that doesn't look like a full-on, like, skeletonized metal PRS-looking thing. They have one that has a little bit more polymer involved, but it still has a lot of adjustability. I can't remember all the names. But it's got, like, the Arca rail on the bottom, the full-length Arca rail, which is very nice. Then I've got Atlas bipod on that you can slide any which way. Got 2 weights up front on the fore end, make it a little bit more weighty. It is a pretty beefy thing. The barrel is not lightweight. Not fluted or anything. And golly, those Zermatt actions are beautiful.
Tops.
So nice. It's got a Trigger Tech diamond trigger in it, I believe. And it's a joy.
Sounds neat.
It's an absolute joy. Thing. And since it's heavier and suppressed, like when you shoot it, you don't feel anything. It's all you feel is like a trigger breaking in your hand, and nothing else happens, aside from like a slight puff.
There's like that joke, like, what do you feel? And somebody says recoil. Like, you don't even feel recoil.
No. I mean, it's as comfortable as shooting a Ruger 1022, and it's shooting a 108 grain bullet. And I would love to do some coyote cleanup with it. Once I get it recommissioned.
Fantastic. Well, this is the perfect time of year for those things,
It
Jim.
Absolutely is.
It is the holiday season.
Absolutely is.
Maybe we need to do a little holiday coyote hunt. Okay. This one, okay, we're at a crossroads, gentlemen. We're at 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Doesn't matter.
What are you going to say?
I'm going to say we either rip through these or save them.
Rip them.
Okay. Well, this is a story. This says, who has the best successful merp story? I know I've got a good one. We're talking about stopping a deer with a merp.
Tell it.
Okay. I was on, this is probably 4 years ago? 5 years ago? I don't know. A few years ago. I was on public land here in the great state of Wisconsin. Amidst a pretty tough deer season, as I generally have. And set up in this spot. Kind of an inconspicuous spot, and it's like 4-something p.m. I let out a couple grunts, and related or unrelated, a couple minutes later, boom, out pops this buck. I'm like, oh, that's a nice buck. I'd love to shoot that buck. He starts working his way. He also wasn't coming where I thought the deer were going to come from. So he's kind of like a little bit like across this valley, nearly on the same level as me, slightly elevated, actually, uphill from me. The wind is blowing, quartering away from me. Yes, quartering away from me. The buck's working his way down the trail. He gets to a spot where he's nearly directly across from me. And I'm like, if he goes any further than this, he's likely going to get my wind. And he stops there, and he's frontal. I go
full frontal.
If he turns, I'm going to try and kill him right there. So I range him. I'm like 50, 50, 50, 50. I've got a 50-yard pin on my bow. And I'm like, that's long shooting, but I'm like, if he turns and stops, I'm going to try and kill him right here, because otherwise the situation is about to come unglued. He turns. I get about a quarter of the way back with my draw, and he just keeps walking. I'm like, this is not good. And he goes about another 20 yards, catches my wind, stops, turns towards me, and I felt like he was looking through my soul. Like he was like a laser beam looking right at me in the tree. Now we're basically about the same level.
Wow, how they can do that.
And I'm like, oh, great. He blows, turns around, and starts running back up the trail that he came down. And I'm like, meh, 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 much louder than that. He stops in the hole that I originally ranged him. I'm at, I draw as I'm merping at him. He stops in that hole. I go, that's 50. Touch it off. crushed him. Perfect quartering away shot, and he went like 100 yards, tipped over.
Is that buck that
Love it.
you brought here that one night?
That's a different one.
Okay.
That was like kind of the more like palmated 10 that I killed. But just crazy though. Like, I mean, and when this was a high volume merp.
It was just
high volume.
Hey!
He had a 30-round mag.
It was the merp version of hay.
He did a mag dump of merps.
And I mean, 50-yard bomb, like,
Got
just
him.
worked out, perfect shot.
I don't have a merp
I don't do
story.
that every time.
I've never employed it in a hunting scenario. I just employ it around my neighborhood.
I've never had a successful merp. I'll tell you an unsuccessful not merp. Same thing. I was archery hunting mule deer and located a buck. Made this exceptional stock. Was a long ways away and got on top of the buck at 3 yards. And
I mean, were you literally on top of him?
Quite literally.
Riding it like a horse?
More or less. I could have jumped on him. I had the top of his head in view, and curiously, I had his left ham in view. He was on a shelf, and it was bedded on this little shelf. And so all I had was the top of his head and his butt. And I'm like, well, I got all day, buddy. And I underestimated how long that they can just hang out. Like I thought for sure eventually the sun's going to agitate him to a degree that he was going to get up. Everything was in my favor, wind in my favor, everything. It's just like, say when. And so I'm clipped on and I'm thinking sun's going to track across the sky. It's going to light him up. It's lighting me up. He'll 25 minutes, 30 minutes from now, he's going to stand and just kind of reposition. When he stands, he's done. And like an hour and a half goes by.
He's very content.
And I'm standing with my feet together and my legs locked.
Oh, dude.
Because I'm standing on this like little peninsula. And I got to watch a lot of very interesting things that mule deer do that I didn't know they do. He nibbled everything within reach of him that he could, which I thought was really interesting. It was warm. It wasn't unseasonably warm. It was warm. It was in the 70s. He would lick his forelegs, which I presume, and somebody who understands deer better than I am could either support or discredit this. Kangaroos will do this. They'll lick their forelimbs.
Okay.
And they'll get saliva on top of the skin that has a lot of vascularity in it, which will help dissipate body temperature, dissipate body heat. Presumably that's what he was doing. And then I watched him use his antler to kind of hook himself in to the bank and take a nap.
That would be so nice on airplanes.
He's sitting here. He's like, click. He's kind of digging. And he got there, and I watched him doze off. Because for a little while, he was kind of, like a little kid, you know?
And he was like, oh, this is much better.
And so finally, like, patience got the best of me.
You got a head hanger anywhere you go. Just kind of like, I'm going to rest my head here.
I sneak draw back. I get up to my anchor point, and I go, and that deer had never heard that bird before, and he had no time for that. And the explosion from cover was so beautiful and dramatic and disheartening at the same time, because that was the opportunity, and it was gone. And I had a great appreciation for mule deer, greater appreciation for mule deer after that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
This is a good question.
All right.
Why do people say a scope has too much zoom if you can zoom out?
That's a great question.
I saw that one on there, and that is a good question.
I'll give you. Can I give my answer?
I think it's one that can actually be answered, and I actually think that. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Again, from general hunting perspective, to me, it's form factor.
Mm-hmm.
The size and weight that comes with a higher magnification scope, for me, does not. The magnification does not outweigh the weight and size that it adds. And also, I can do all the things that I want to do in general from hunting perspective for most of the things that I chase, not always, with a lower magnification scope, which for me, the ideal scope falls into that like 3 to 15 range.
And you're kind of a convert on that, though, because you ran the HSLR 6-24 quite a bit, didn't you?
Not quite a bit. I ran it on like a coos deer hunt.
Okay.
And maybe something else that was like similar to that. I think that and like an odd-ad hunt that I knew would be like in general like pretty long shooting.
I'll say
okay, like it could be long shooting, and I wasn't expecting a close shot either. Like, it wasn't like that very, I mean, obviously anything can happen, right? But it wasn't like, well, I might be in the timber or I might be doing this, you know.
I think the reason for me is that there's a diminishing rate of return when it comes to magnification. And I would say it may be mostly perceived, but I actually think it's very real too when you think about like percentages and things of that nature. But okay, changing from, let's say you're looking at a scope that is like, 2 to 10 versus a scope that's a 3 to 15 or a 4 to 16 or something like that. Going from 2 power to 4 power is actually a pretty notable difference.
Sure.
You've magnified the thing 2 times more, double what it was. Going from 12 to 15, 15 to 18, 18 to 24 even, like those jumps, less noticeable, less of a change that you can really do something with. So if you have a scope, let's say somebody says, well, I have a 624, I can always go down to 6. I think in my head, well, if I have a 2 to 10, the difference between 2 and 6 is huge. And, the difference, like I said, the difference between 2 and 4 is pretty big. The difference between 2 and 6 is huge. And I would say the difference between 3 and 6 and 4 and 6 is also pretty big. So having a lower minimum magnification, I think that really does a lot. And that's why I think the higher end scopes too, it's always the goal to try and have as low of a low magnification as possible, and and then get up to a higher magnification. Like the 3 to 15 mark is great because you do have 15, which is a nice magnification to be able to zoom into, but then when you go down to 3, like you can do so much with it.
Maintaining a very usable low end for close in scenarios is extremely important, and it's definitely more important than having higher than 15.
Right. And 2 and 3, maybe 4 is so much more usable on the low end than I would say 6 is.
Oh yeah.
But that's also why the 4.5 to 22 LHT is also still very attractive to me, because that's still a very usable low end, but then
it is.
You get
and that's where it kind of depends on where you are, because 4.5 is a very usable low end in certain areas, but in other areas I'd say it's like a little too much. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit picky with that, but
I would say I've hunted blacktails, whitetails in the timber with 4 power on the low end and felt very
on a
very
second focal plane or a first focal plane.
Second focal plane.
There's more to the story.
So when you get into I hashtag agree, when you get into first focal plane on the low end in those scenarios, but that's why on the LHT you can engage the illumination and overcome some of that.
Sometimes I think that a high magnification presents more risk than reward, depending on how you're utilizing the optic and what the optic is set up as. So in a first focal plane, I can always, I guess, on paper make an argument for exactly this question. We'll just turn it down. Contingent on you being able to have reticle visibility,
right?
Depending on backdrop or background, like what you're looking at, right? In a second focal plane, turning it down could be the difference between a hit or a miss, depending on how you're managing your reticle and where your shot is at, right? So in a second focal plane, our subtension values are changing. And so if your optic subtends at 24x and you turn to, say, 12 to have an appreciable field of view, a low light advantage, understand that your subtension values have doubled in their worth, right? So what was a 1.5 MOA hold is now a 3 MOA hold. And that's a quick and hardy way to accidentally shoot over the back. And I've seen it done in the field. So I generally associate high magnification with a little bit more risk. And that's just my personal shooting style. I've been very content with a 10 power optic at the top end. No shot that I would take couldn't be taken by 10. And I'll still have a wild low end. Guy shot a deer. I was with Mark. We were in Missouri. Killed a deer at 11 yards with a 2.5 power on 2.5 power. And could see the whole deer in the FOV, and it was great.
And the question always remains, how well do you need to see the deer to be able to shoot it?
And 10 power is a tremendous amount of magnification.
It's magnifying it, 10 times.
I mean, that's a lot of mag.
It is a lot of magnification. I won't
And Mark,
discount that.
if you're on a driven hunt, Mark, and they're flying by you, and we're saying, look out!
Shoot her.
4.5 power, Mark? That's for my Razor 1 to 10 that I got as my last.
Oh, that would
be
that'd be a fantastic.
I don't want to leave Mark in Northern Europe because he got tackled by a moose.
Oh gosh, that'd be crazy. All right, Ryan, here, look at this. Do we want to answer this one now or later? It's the one that's
bracketed,
and by later I mean in the next.
The bracketed one?
Yes.
You tell me. This is your show.
We'll do it later.
All right. What?
Did you
Mark just got
swat me?
swatted.
This is from B Hitting 100. What is the best gauge, shot, and size shotgun type / choke / type of shot shell, etc. for turkey? This one is pointed exactly at Mark Boardman.
I'm out. I'm not even going to answer. I just use whatever I got that has a picture of a turkey on
here's
it.
what I'd say. Hopefully stay tuned because we plan on doing some experimentation. There's some foreshadowing, or maybe we're just telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you made me pick,
as
it stands right now with what I know today, and most of this is, I guess I would say, what I've seen in the field, experienced personally. Man, I'm going 12 gauge.
Yep.
I'm going with a TSS loading.
Yep.
Of 6s or 7s. The choke, I've had a Carlson's do really well.
Yep.
I have not experimented with a ton of different choke tubes.
No, but you will, old friend.
Yes. There. We'll leave it at that. Ryan, what are you going with?
I'm going with honestly, best overall. Got to get it done. I'm going to factor economy into this. Go grab yourself a set or a box of Winchester Supreme 2 3/4 inch, number 5, copper-plated lead shot. Get yourself a good choke tube like a Carlson's, if you want to splurge, an Indian Creek, and reap the benefit of exceptional performance to 40 yards. It's just a good do-all.
With the 12 gauge?
12 gauge, yeah.
Oh,
Just
you're
a
going
good
with
do-all.
12. I didn't.
Yeah.
2 3/4.
Best patterns every time. Best patterns every time.
It's not as much.
I've shot more turkey loads in testing. And I just said earlier in this, I said I think I'm off the 12 gauge train. And I really think I am. I think I'm firmly seated in the 20 because the gun weighs like 2 pounds less and has half the recoil. All about it. And in that context, I'm running TSS. I'm shooting a 2 3/4 inch TSS charge.
Mark, if a little's good, a lot's a lot better, Boardman.
It is, except I've never been on the 3.5 train for turkeys.
Because you
which
didn't
you would
own
think,
one.
Huh?
Because you didn't own one.
But my I had access to my dad's Benelli. It was a 3.5 inch gun.
Oof.
I shot it one time.
That is your father.
I
Makes
shot it.
sense.
I shot it with his 3.5s one time. I was like, well, I don't need to do that again.
Yeah, my dad made me.
I'm not even like recoil super sensitive.
No, you do soak it up really well.
Yeah, he does.
But I don't know, man. I was
I still remember when I was shooting with my neighbor who came out and hunted with us, and we're playing around with the Nova pump.
Yep.
Which has an element of soaking up a shot for you.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, these TSS will, they'll buck you a little harder. And he shoots and he's like, that was notable. And then I was like, I think he shot my gun then, which is the Browning Synergy, which I hadn't shot for an entire year. And then it was like, all right, time to dust off the old turkey gun. And then I went out there and I stuck the TSS in there, and then it was like, bam! And I'm like, whoa! That really doesn't have any element of I am the recoil control.
Why do I taste metal?
All right, guys. I keep forgetting. I think I keep forgetting to say people's handles here.
Nuts. They'll know.
4-3 shooters.
Gotta get to this one though.
I like that one too. want to get this one in because it's, Christmas time. Real or fake Christmas tree?
Oh.
I got feelings on this.
Well, somebody
Is
answer.
none an option?
Thank you, James.
Whoa, none?
Fact.
I can't stand getting a Christmas tree. It's such a pain in the butt. We used to have a fake one when I was a kid, and we had to. And the idea of going into your basement and unearthing a fake tree to then bring upstairs and scratch up everything in its path, bring upstairs, yard sale all over your living room, and then to erect a plastic tree in your living room and put a bunch of crap all over it, only to take it down a month later and put it back in its hole in the basement. That was ridiculous. And now my wife insists on a real tree. And so the idea of going to a parking lot, which she likes to go to because they also have fun wreaths and other dumb things, going to a parking lot and having people...
Other dumb stuff she likes.
Yeah. Having people wrap up a real tree, which was perfectly happy in the ground, providing a home for critters and wind-breaking action, all these nice things.
Oxygen. We use that.
Oxygen, and just chopping it up, labeling it as a 7.5-footer, and having them wrap it up, stick it on top of our car, and then I have to go. It's just such a pain in the butt. And then we have to water it in our house. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
I hate it so much.
In general, I don't care a lot for Christmas.
I know we covered this.
Yeah. I'm with Jimmy on the fake tree, but for other reasons. Something, I don't know, man. What are we going to do? We're going to make something look like something that ain't. What is it? Wire and plastic. And then we have a fake tree, which my mother, I love my mother. She's adorable. She's great. Every year she sends me a picture of a more and more and more Charlie Brown plastic Christmas tree. And like this that'd be pretty fancy for Ma. And I just know my father just walks by it and just... And then for me, the thought of killing a tree, if only to throw it in the woods later when it's desiccated and brown, is repulsive on a cellular level for me.
So I grew up. I have mixed emotions on this. I enjoy having the tree once it's up. I grew up real trees. Some of my most fond memories, like honestly, like I would ask. We didn't do it every year, but like we'd go cut our own tree, which meant we got to go in the woods.
You like bonking one, don't you?
And then
It's like you and Trout.
I ain't afraid. So we'd go, we got to go in the woods and, pick your tree. Oh, there's a big choice. How about this one?
Sure,
How
look
about
at that nice,
one?
happy, healthy tree right over there. Why don't we cut it up and put it
Cut
on
it
the living
down. Generally got to shoot our 22s. Okay.
You shoot
That's
it down
a huge
too?
plus. In college, we would have our annual Christmas tree hunt, and we would shoot them down. And I was actually the only one that put any actual thought into, hey, let's get a nice tree. So every year at the house, I would have the most delightful Christmas tree. It was our annual Christmas tree hunt, and it was really fun.
You know what? You know what? I think it'd be a better idea.
And we would generally go sledding then too. Here's what I'm saying.
Sledding
though.
is fun.
Okay. But nowadays we have a synthetic tree.
Synthetic.
The ease of procurement is as simple as going in the basement. You don't have to water it. The kids still get to decorate the tree. And Ryan, to your point, I love the look of a real tree. I love the smell of a real tree in the house. There's just something magical about it. But man, I do feel bad about just
bonking one.
Bonking a tree.
Yeah.
It's, probably minimum 10, depending on your tree, 15 years old.
Years of development.
Just to sit in your house. And then the most depressing thing I see is that it's like that week after Christmas where the sidewalks are just littered with carcasses. These once beautiful, thriving trees just relegated to trash and not given a second thought.
The only way I'm okay with it No, you know what? I'm not. I'm just not. I was gonna say chuck it in the lake for some crappie structure.
There's that.
Here's
or
the
I mean,
thing.
you could create some great bunny structure.
Throw an
But-
already dead one in
But
there.
hey, I'm a
Why'd
what
you
is
have to
it?
kill the nice
I'm
ones?
a capitalist, though. I mean, there's trees are big business, and I think you know what I mean. Somebody's. We don't get mad when somebody farms corn or something like you know what I mean. These guys are tree farmers. That's what they do. They farm these trees. So
I get that.
and
They have to
there's
do
a
it.
chain of events
They
that
have to
happens
do it because there is a demand for the trees.
right, and
I
they
would
are
just-
providing that service,
I
which
would
is
rather-
bringing enjoyment to other people.
Here's
so.
how things have gone in my house. It's a feud because I don't like them. I don't want to bonk one. I beg not. Don't make me do it again. Please don't make me put hands on that tree again. I just don't want to do it. Plant a tree.
I mean, it does seem it's like 10 to 15 years, and then it's in your house for 3 weeks.
I just don't want to do it. I just feel like that's ripping something from the earth that doesn't need to be ripped. Plant a tree, decorate the tree.
I've often thought about that.
Every year, just decorate the
Hell
same
yeah.
tree. It gets a little bigger.
You really want to get in on some good stuff. Plant another tree the next year. Keep this up for a couple of Christmases. My God, you've made a forest.
You've got a lot of trees. I hate doing it. I hate doing it.
Okay.
And then you set it up, you get all sappy, and
The cat gets in there, knocks it over. A bat flies out.
This is just a good suggestion from Bob Ross Jr.
My man.
oh,
Jim,
your dad was a
I don't know my Roman numerals.
hero.
Fourth?
That would be a 4. Yeah.
IV.
That's the 4th.
Bob needs an IV. He had a little
I don't know.
too much drink. When will you cover
Dang
the
Romans.
When will you cover the WSSM line of cartridges? And I think that is a good idea.
Yep. Yep.
If only we had a podcast format dedicated to commercial cartridges that never hooked up. Ooh. What do we call it?
It's sort of like they were intended to take off,
Like
but then
float?
they just sort of
But sank.
Just
sank.
like
Almost like you made them out of the wrong material or something to float.
Yeah. What's heavy?
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
I'm thinking about elements that are
Speaking
heavy.
of materials, Tyler Markin asked, "Are powder-coated bullets any good?"
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, you use those in your 4570.
You
don't
bet. 4570, 44 Magnum, 9mm, 45 automatic Colt pistol, and I picked some up for $30.30.
you? Oh, nice.
Yep. Acme Bullets, Wisconsin company, powder coated
Acme.
bullets.
I
What's
love
the
that.
reason for the powder? What's the powder do?
The powder coating
Mm-hmm.
adds a couple things: protection for the bullet
Okay.
from the rifling, protection of the rifling from the bullet, and I don't have to gas check them if I'm shooting them at higher velocities because that powder coating is so dang tough.
Oh,
And it's attractive. They look like lipstick.
I know the ones you had. Are they all red?
They make them in different colors, different companies.
The ones that I've seen.
Yeah, that are high tech coated. They do greens and golds and blues and purples.
Jim, our friends across the pond. This is the one you wanted me to read earlier.
Mm-hmm.
At Vortex Optics UK chimed in.
Yee yee.
Do you miss the old building?
You know, when we first moved to this building,
Yeah.
last day at that old building, I got in my car, I drove away, I didn't even think about it. I said, sayonara, you old piece of junk. You old building and loan. Someone will know that reference. But I said, sayonara, never looked back, didn't miss it, got in the new building, loved it. And now it's finally, 5 years later or something like that. And occasionally it's sunk in some of the old things that we used to enjoy that I do miss about the old building. Namely, the fact that I know I could, and many others, walk through that absolute mousetrap of a floor plan with my eyes closed because I had gone through it so much. You just knew it was home field advantage. Like if somebody would have gone in there, if there would have been a Home Alone type scenario,
doomed.
dude, they would be absolutely screwed.
We could lock them in the tunnel.
Oh, it'd be so easy. we would have them. We wouldn't even need fire a shot, and then we could have them locked in there forever. And it's just the
I
place
mean,
was,
you wouldn't even have to do anything once they got in. They just like,
They wouldn't even be able to find the exit. And the whole building wasn't more than
18 feet wide. But it was very long.
That it was. It was extremely long. For reference of people who have no idea, you just started following us maybe when we had this nice HQ in the lovely town of Barneveld, Wisconsin. We used to have a different building on the far west side of Madison, Wisconsin, a town called Middleton. And it was in an industrial park. And there was a building that was amongst many other buildings. This building was erected, and it had many different suites throughout it. A bit like we called it a strip mall floor plan. And we started out with one little sliver. And over the years, many years that we were there, someone would move out of the suite next door, and they would terminate their lease or whatever. And we would start, because we were growing, we would jump into their space. And we'd knock out a wall between them. And we didn't really have any time to figure out what an optimal floor plan was, so we would just assimilate into theirs. And then, the next neighbor would terminate their lease, and so we would take their space and then knock out a wall and assimilate into their space. And then somebody who was 3 suites down would move out, and we'd just be like, yeah, it's close enough. We'll just take that one too. And so then we started doing this, and we had all these just hilarious, because it'd be like, oh, these people used to have an interior stair railing company. And, whatever they needed is that way, and we'll just try and make that work for us. These people would, repair phone screens, whatever it was. It was all this goofy stuff, and we would just morph into their spaces.
I mean, we can, over time, just continually gobbled up.
Yeah, until we had probably 80% of that whole building. That building was, actually, it was 2 buildings.
Yeah.
And then we had another one down the street,
Yep.
Another suite down the street. Yeah, it just got goofy.
It sucked when you had to walk down to the other one when it was in the wintertime.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
Yep.
I have a lot of nostalgia for what I call old Vortex. And there were just like you said, there were just good times, good people. I feel very fortunate to have been able to watch Vortex, go through that metamorphosis over time, and have that perspective. And I mean, boy, we used to be pretty lean and mean over there, and it got pretty big while we were over there too, like you said, kind of like over time. But I also love what new Vortex has afforded us.
Parking spots.
Real parking spots.
Yeah.
Bathrooms.
More than one bathroom. I feel like there was some scarring from old Vortex and our giant buildings and one bathroom that we definitely
we overcompensated on the bathrooms.
But you know what though? It's awesome because it's
there's always one available.
There's always
I have a picture of me the night before my first day, standing in at 2120 West Greenview with the big emblem that's now in the shop.
Yeah,
above me.
I took some pictures on the last day too.
Yeah. No, that was my first day.
That was your first day?
Night before the first day. Yeah.
That's cool.
I remember it was such a mousetrap, and there was all these weird corners, and someone would have an office in a place that you would never expect was actually even part of the building.
A hallway.
And you'd walk, or literally a hallway right next to the bathroom, the one bathroom. And you'd see a door that looked very benign, like a coat closet. You open up, oh no, that's your studio. And
that's because it was a coat closet.
Yeah, it was at one point. But I remember that each corner that you took, you would get a different. Well, first off, you had a different sight because, like we said, it was once something completely different. The smell. Every area of the building had its unique smell, and then it also had a unique person or small group of individuals associated to that very particular little area of the building.
Right.
And so you'd be going back and you'd be like, this is the Justin Carver room. It's all blank white walls, and there's a machine who works in here, and it's called Justin. And then you'd walk through and you'd be like, oh, well, this is the small little creative graphics design room. Right next to it is randomly the accountants, which is also next to whatever. It didn't make any sense, but every little place, it was good.
It was really busy. It was busy when we were moving out of there, because you're just a lot going on, and you're like, I got to clean out my desk. And I remember though, leaving, and I was like, I took a picture of the old building, like that same sign that you're talking about, and I was like, man, the end of an era. Like, but like also like moving on. And then I remember when I walked into New Vortex, and I said, we better sell some optics.
Yeah. Oh, I miss it sometimes, though. Back in the warehouse, we had a lot of shipping racks that were put in really random places. We tried to have some sort of form of organization, but as a kid, I used to climb all over them, and I'd spy on many people who worked for us. Not like intentionally, but it was just like I'd be
honing the art.
I'd be like 25, 30 feet above them, and they had no idea I was there, and they might be on the phone with someone and like chewing them out, and then I'd be like learning 4-letter words while giggling to myself 30 feet above them.
Like good and more and best.
And food.
Yes.
Guys, I think we've gotten there. We have one more left.
All right.
Appropriately, since...
Is this the one?
After this,
is this one you have saved as last, or is it that?
No,
last one?
I'm gonna save that one for
later.
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 Well, this is the 25th. This airing.
Sure.
We're about to kick off our holiday cartridge talks. Regular Jones asked, to each of you, your 2 podcast colleagues are cartridges. What would they be and why?
Sure. I get it. Well,
and we've got 6 minutes until we can end this thing on at least what the red screen of fury has as the 2-hour mark, gentlemen. Should I start? I'm gonna start.
Please do. I got to think for a second.
Okay. Well, I've got 1. I don't have 2, so I'm gonna think on the fly here. Ryan,
Marcus,
you are in fact the 4570 because I know you like it.
Fine cartridge.
Fine cartridge. You can do a lot of things with it. It's a relatively short-range cartridge. You don't really, engage in the long-range stuff all that much. And it's classic. It comes in classic firearms. It's old. You're an old soul. For your age, like you are like that classic, like you strike me, maybe not personality-wise, but like the knowledge base of just like that really old gun rider, which would make you old, but you're not that old.
All I can think of is old man yells at cloud.
So Ryan, you're the 4570.
Thanks,
Jim,
let's hear it.
I'm still thinking on you. Actually, I probably shouldn't have gone. I thought it would come to me.
That's what I was going for. Try to keep you on your toes. Never can pin that guy down.
Ralph agrees.
Yep.
Ryan, are you ready?
I'm ready for Jim.
Well, that's okay. Mark couldn't even come up with one.
Jimmy's an interesting friend of mine in that he does many things way above his caliber. He's so good at
What does
stuff.
that mean? I'm in over my head all the time?
No.
That's what
It's
that
like-
sounded like.
It's like, I remember getting a text message from you like, do you know how to weld? I'm thinking about starting to learn how to weld. And in a short amount of time, all of a sudden, Jimmy could be like, yeah, no, I got another pipeline job up. It's a whole thing. It's underwater in space.
I'm not going to be.
I'm the only one qualified for it.
I'm not going to be into podcast Monday.
Yeah. So he does things way the hell out of his caliber range that otherwise you'd be like, nobody can be that good at that many things. And at the same time, he's also a little eclectic, but not like the hand-painted car driving down the road eclectic. But
You're painting a good description because I've actually picked my cartridge for Jim, and it's falling on all of these lines.
Yeah. So he's just really damn handy, but just a little out there.
A little weird.
But not weird. Weird is the wrong word.
Oh, okay.
It's just like, I don't know how to describe it. And this answer is going to be odd, but hear me out. 6.5 Remington Magnum.
I like the sound of it.
Versatile caliber.
Mm-hmm.
And in the right
Very
package,
sounds like it.
wildly effective on game, larger than we would expect. But goofy enough just get that like odd mix of interesting.
Right.
It's a belted short mag.
Too weird to live.
Too rare to die. But decades ahead of his time.
Sure.
6.5 Remington Magnum.
I like that. Jim, for you, I'm going to pick the, partially because we were just talking about it, but not really, but it made me think of it, the 708. It's a variant of the venerable 308, but it's outside the norm. It's not one of these newfangled cartridges that you would be like, oh, that's just like, I can't get that because that's just like, that's the flavor of the week,
Right.
And people jumping on board with the X cartridge because not that many people have jumped on board with it, but enough have, and it's wildly effective. It's very practical.
Very nice. Thank you. I know I have my answer for Ryan. It's very similar to yours, Mark, with the 4570, but I'm actually going to go with the 350 Legend.
Oh.
Whoa. Where are you going with this?
This felt like a wet dish towel. Just
So you don't like it?
No, I don't know. I don't know what. So I was mixed reviews on 350.
I'm saying that because it's a straight wall.
Okay.
It's a new straight wall.
Okay.
It was developed to give a modern twist on an old style of cartridge and hunting and things like that. And so I think that in maybe 10 years, I could see somebody holding up a 350 Legend and being like, look at this old thing. And then people are like, you'd be surprised. It's only about 15 years ago that was developed. And people would be like, no, this thing looks old. It sounds old. It has Legend in the name.
This is true.
I am Legend.
You are Legend. He am Legend. That's Ryan. So that's why I'll say I really don't think it's actually the best pick. There's a lot of other ones that I could have picked that would have been better, but it just...
Did I take yours?
I know that many times... No, the other one was the 44 mag, but...
That's cool.
For Mark?
Yeah, let's hear yours for Mark.
Mark is also a little on the goofy side. You have isms.
Oh.
But they're not bad. It's not like they're intolerable. And I'm not even saying that your isms are tolerable because that has connotation as well. Mark, if you were anything, you'd be a 257 Weatherby.
What?
Yeah, let me tell you why.
I was thinking also a Weatherby cartridge, Ryan.
Let me tell you why.
I don't get this.
Heavy adopter of radical technology.
No, I'm not. I'm a late adopter of technology.
No, Mark.
I still don't know how to work my phone.
That's true. You have a
you don't
Tikka.
care.
You have a Tikka rifle that you got that shoots a 2/10 MOA group.
Yeah, we got to fix that.
We got to yank that barrel off. It ain't like something's broke with it.
What's that called when you like not self-deprecating, but like you intentionally sabotage yourself?
Self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The year was 19. I'll just go with the 300. It was 44. I guess I don't know what year the 257 came out necessarily, but double radius shoulder, long neck, big body taper, belt, screaming blitzkrieg of a bullet.
Okay, I would have been drawn to that.
Little bit fussy. It's got to be handled and hand loaded in just the right way, but Jesus, you point it in the right direction.
I would have been okay.
Hydrostatic shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine for Mark was the 6.5 RPM.
Sure.
Mostly because I could absolutely see, again, if a little's good, a lot's a lot better.
He's the only guy I know that's killed something with it, too.
And so he'd be like, Mark's standing there, and a lot of guys are going like, oh, yeah, you seen like, the 6.5 Creedmoor breakup. Mark would be like, yeah, I'm just really into the 6.5 RPM, though, because, it's basically this, that, but like more.
We did a podcast on that cartridge.
We did.
And there's a lot to be drawn to there.
It was very appealing, as is the 257 Weatherby Magnum.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I'll say this. In a world of Roberts, be a 257
My middle name is Robert.
How did I not know that?
I guess I didn't either.
Oh, I have a backup for Ryan's cartridge. I changed everything now. Ryan is the 6.5 bitch cat.
Okay.
It was a
great idea that never came to fruition.
It kind of
It will come to fruition, damn it.
About every 3 months, we talk about it, and then it dies for another 3 months until we talk about it again. And I'm tired of talking.
It's basically like this.
The people are tired of us talking about it.
Jimmy comes in. He's like, "What are we doing?" And it's like, it's all on me because it's like, I got to get that over to Whidden and get some new dies made. And then I just
actually, that's why you're the 6.5 bitch cat. It's because the reason it never came to fruition is because of your crippling mental state.
Yep,
you're mentally crippled, Ryan.
You brought it.
Let us help you.
You brought it to life and
killed it
simultaneously.
I walked it to the river, Mark.
You did, but you didn't push it in. No, he didn't do that. It fell in, and then he was just sort of like, I should probably save it, but how should I save it?
You can't swim.
I should probably go in and get it first, but do I need to make sure I have to make sure to stabilize the neck? How would I stabilize? Well, in order to stabilize the neck, I'd have to get that piece of equipment, but that piece of equipment is too far away, and then they would die first, but I would really need to stabilize the neck, but the equipment's too far away. They would die first, but I should get them out, but I can't get them out and then it's dead.
If I had a time machine, I'd go back to when we were standing over there by the window and we were talking about it. And the choices were 6, 5, 7, or 30. I was like, we got to do 7. And I got talked off that ledge.
If I had a time machine, I would do the same thing. But at
that time,
Ryan,
wants the 6.5, Ryan.
At the time.
So hot right now.
Everything was 6.5. It was so hot.
And what is it now?
So hot then.
Look, I acknowledge that you saw the future.
I have the drawings. I have the 3D printed cases. Reamers.
We even bought a rifle to make one of those, but we need to finish A before we move on to B.
That was my problem in school too. I was very curious as to what the next chapter held without reading the chapter before it.
Let's close this chapter. Oh, you know what? Hey, here was another question. I got to see. We'll end on this one. This is. Well, I'm not going to give you credit, and I apologize for that. But somebody said, "What's up next for Vortex and you guys?"
We've never seen this warning before. 10 minutes until MC Ryan is literally out of storage on his device. He can't even. We'll just end.
All right. Well, here's what I hope.
The Vortex Nation podcast will cease to exist in 10 minutes.
The listeners have probably self-destructed as well by this point. Here's what I hope is what we have coming up next. We close the chapters on the mini projects we've either started or we do a podcast and they say, well, we need to do this. Like we're gonna cryogenically freeze Jim's barrel. We're gonna finish the 6.5 BC. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that.
Right.
My hope is we're coming into like somewhat of an off season here, if there is one, which there never is. And man, we can do some of this fun work there. Ryan, you're holding the 6.5 BC right there.
Yeah.
Look at it. It's beautiful.
Ralph is just begging to go outside.
Let's close it out. All right, everybody. Thank you for submitting your questions. Thank you for listening. We don't say that enough. Thank you for listening. Thanks for writing in. Thanks for caring. Thanks for some reason finding us remotely interesting. Happy holidays. Happy Christmas. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.